Heard of this? That's just one version from among many. It's basically fatwa of Imam Ahmed. But it wasn't called fatwas back then. It's called masail. Which is basically similar to what we do. There's no proof, there's no argument, it's just this is my view, this is my view. And that's how they compile to put together the madhab from masail.
So what is mas'ala now?
Mas'ala is asking. That's the singular.
Masaya.
Mas'ala, singular, is a question.
Okay.
Masail, plural.
It's masaya is plural.
Yeah, so for example, when they put together a book.
Okay, before you go any further, right?
Don't forget what you just said about the web, Shay.
I'm going to tell you why I asked that question. Because back in Ghana when I was small, right? The older people in the masjid would say Masla Masai, right? Meaning question and answer, right?
Okay.
Or meaning some kind of a Islamic problem, right?
Okay.
Or some technicality, basically.
An issue.
Right? Yes, an issue.
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
So, okay.
That's correct.
So they're right. They were right there.
Well, I'm gonna tell you that it's like we said before, Fazzy. You gotta understand something. There are many things, whether it's a term or practice, which is authentic, but it's in a mixture of a bunch of other stuff. Crap. But the original asl of it is sahih, but it's been tainted.
It's just like peas and rice, where you have more other things inside.
That's right. That's right. But this word or this term or this practice is authentic. But a mixture, you understand?
Yeah.
Come on, let me see. Come on. You gonna raise me? Yeah. Okay. I'll believe that. One. Wait, you can't cheat. After each. One. Wait. Don't cheat. I know you like it heavy. 1, 2, here you go. You won. Mashallah. High five. Long ass.
You shouldn't race against Kobe.
You beat me in a race. You call me a turtle. Bismillah. Later on, I'll explain something to you, Abu Hussam. Something that's not a surprise or shock. You understand? تفضل.
AA from Minnesota. does becoming irritated at someone but avoiding an argument with them still diminish one's fast?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اقتفى أثرهم إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Our hadith disciples and disciples, local and worldwide. The greetings of Al-Islam, the peace and blessings of Al-Islam. The first question says, if someone makes you irritated, they irritate you, but you avoid arguing with them, does it lessen your fast? Does it diminish the reward of your fast? The question, correct? Being irritated or becoming irritated is a natural human emotion. A natural human emotion, okay? Something that you can't necessarily control from the get-go, from the beginning. However, you becoming further irritated and acting upon the irritation and showing it in what you say or your body language, losing your patience, so on and so forth, is something that you can control. And this is the secret behind the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, the authentic narration, La taghdab, don't become angry. Many of the scholars of Islam, they say this hadith means, it doesn't mean that you can't become angry. Being angry that's a normal thing. It's a natural emotion. But they say don't act upon your anger. Don't implement your anger. So you see something or someone says something to you or bumps into you or steps on your foot or something really ignorant and it makes you angry. It makes you angry. They say that's not necessarily a sin, nor is that necessarily haram or looked down upon. But now you moving forward and saying something and doing something and continue to keep the negativity with you, then they say that's the meaning of the hadith. And obviously, the other interpretation of the hadith, they say don't even get angry from the beginning. That is also something which is an Islamic objective. It's to suppress the button of you getting angry. Don't even let it bother you. Don't even let it bother you. And when you're fasting and you don't allow things to bother you, you keep your cool, even though it's a clear reason for one to get angry and upset, that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala is a means of reward. That's a means of reward. That's a means of reward. And you always becoming angry or becoming irritated could diminish your fast. So it's a yes and a no answer. What's important is this concept is far easier said than done. Far easier said than done. Keep your cool. Don't become angry. It's far easier said than done. But with practice, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, seeking Allah's help, trying your best, taking a small step, getting the necessary knowledge, the necessary information, the necessary therapy and counseling, it can be achieved. In which you don't allow these things to bother you. Someone cuts you off in the line, someone's bothering you, harassing you in the airport. There's no point in getting angry and upset because it's going to happen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.
F. Ali from London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. Why is there a lot of fabricated hadith about Surah Yasin? And is there a particular reason why it's popular amongst the common folk from back home?
Repeat the question once more, the beginning of the question.
Why is there a lot of fabricated hadith about Surah Yasin?
Clear. Question says, and where's it coming from?
London, UK.
Question coming from London, UK, regarding fabricated hadith about Surah Yasin. Why are there so many? And why is the surah so popular back home? I don't know what you mean by back home. My gut feeling, my intuition tells me that you're speaking about the sub-Indian continent, Indo-Pakistani culture, with regards to back home, UK, Yasin, etc. I could be wrong. At the end of the day, this is a question I asked one of my teachers in Medina, one of my close mashaykh. I was in his house. We were sitting, drinking tea, and eating dates. The staple food, as we said. And I said, yeah, Sheikh, why is so many fabricated hadiths about Surah Yasin? And why do people love it so much and they have to recite it and so on and so forth? So the Sheikh, he put down his glass of tea, and he said, Sheikh Muhammad, he said, that's a good question. Says, I don't know. He said, I asked myself the same question before. I don't know. And he mentioned a story about Jamaat al-Tabligh and someone that was with them one day and how he witnessed it. He said they were sitting in a desert in Saudi. Jamaat al-Tabligh, there's many of them in Saudi. And he says, and they sat around and each and every one of them recited Surah Yasin from beginning to end. Everybody in the whole Jamaat, as we would say. They all recited Surah Yasin. So he said, that's a good question. And he didn't have an answer. Me, myself, I haven't come across anything which would prove why the people love Surah Yasin regarding fabricating hadiths and making them hadiths. How did it become like that? I don't know. If you look at the content of Surah Yasin, and we all know that the Quran is every surah, every juz, every ayah is similar to another. And this is from the beauty of the Quran, that the Quran is cohesive. There is no one ayah that sticks out from another ayah. You're always going to find a similar meaning, a similar concept, a similar style of eloquence. And this is from the Sab' al-Mathani, Quran. And Allah, He mentions this in the Quran, the Mathani. That which, according to one interpretation, it is similar. So Surah Yasin, what sticks out from Surah Yasin from the other surahs? What sticks out? The beginning, the middle, the end, the main objectives, the main content of Surah Yasin. The question is, what sticks out from other surahs? The beginning of the Surah Yasin, the interpretation of the ulama with regards to what is Yasin. And some say, and hypothetically speaking, it makes sense. Not saying it's the correct interpretation, but it makes sense hypothetically speaking. They say that Yasin is one of the names of the Prophet. Because the next verse, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, indeed, you are from the messengers. Just like Allah says, Taha, we have not sent down the Quran upon you for you to experience grief. So Yasin is mentioned, Taha is mentioned, and then there's a direct address to the Prophet. So hypothetically, that makes sense that that's one of his names. Yasin, you are from the messengers. Taha, we haven't sent down the Quran for you to experience misery. But that's not necessarily the correct view of what those letters mean in those two surahs. What's important is, I don't know the answer to that question. It's something which is mind-boggling and spine-tingling. It has become very popular, and especially Yasin with Rahman. And an amazing fact about it is that Yasin and Rahman, they don't even what? They're not even back-to-back in the order of the Mus'haf. Only Allah knows who's the first person to make up these hadiths, to make them up, to put them together, and how they become so widespread. What's important, brothers and sisters, what's important is that it's upon us to spend our time, our effort, our money, our bodies, our minds, and spreading the authentic sunnah, teaching the authentic sunnah, and combating the weak, da'if, bogus hadiths, which are fresh pastures, breeding grounds for bid'ah. In most cases, not all of the time, but in most cases, or a good percentage, 7 out of 10 times, the bid'ah is going to be backed by a fabricated hadith. They go hand in hand. Bid'ah and authentic narrations go hand in hand. These authentic narrations, they only became widespread, they only became popular, they only became commercially accepted household names is because the people with the authentic sunnah have been quiet, or their efforts are minimal. How much money are we spending? How much time are we spending? How much physical elbow grease are we using to spread the authentic sunnah with the authentic proper understanding? So it's our job, speaking to myself firstly, to learn and to propagate it. Because there's never any room for bid'ah and sunnah on one plate. There's never enough room for sahih and mawdu', fabricated and authentic. There's no room for both of them. So we have to intensify our efforts. In the UK, America, where we have to intensify our efforts. Wallahu alam.
This was US from Minnesota. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. Is wearing long dresses with jackets and small hijab haram? What is a really organic Islamic hijab?
With regards to wearing a jacket and a long dress, is that haram? What is the truly organic hijab in Islam? Before I answer the question, please go back to the lecture that we just did in Elizabeth, New Jersey, titled Cultural Traditions versus Islamic Traditions, the hijab. Please go back to that video, because a great deal, if not all of the things that are included in this question, we explained in that lecture. Cultural traditions versus Islamic traditions, the hijab. Please go back to that lecture if you already haven't listened to that lecture. Abu Saeed, we explained this in detail and the fiqh of it all. As far as the brief answer now, then if a woman's hijab fulfills the necessary conditions, then she can wear whatever she wants to wear. As long as it is loose enough, it isn't transparent, it isn't perfumed, it isn't tight, it isn't short, it isn't something which is specific to the dress of men, it isn't something which is specific to the dress of sinful, evil-doing women, and it is something that covers everything what it's supposed to cover, then she's allowed to wear it. Whether it's a dress, an abaya, an overhead, a Somali kimar, an Egyptian, a Yemeni kimar, a hooded kimar, black, this color, that color, whatever style, in a cultural background, as long as it fulfills those conditions. But the problem is, for a sister to go through such, what they consider until a long lengths of wearing it loose, and the color isn't like this, and it's not like that, and it's not, why not just wear a hijab? A normal one-piece overgarment, a normal one-piece overhead, a normal one-piece, or even two pieces. Everybody understand the point that we're trying to get to? Everybody understand this? The point that we're trying to get to is that the closer you are to the original Islamic, even if it's culturally based dress, it's easier and better for you. But for argument's sake, if a sister had on a very long jacket and she had on a very long and loose skirt and it covered all her awrah, covers her awrah. But it's not best, because that's a doorway to putting on and wearing other things, such as a thobe. One day I wear an izar and a shirt. One day I wear a shirt and a pants, short and pants. So it's not haram for a man to dress like this as long as it's in the proper conditions. But it can get too loose sometimes. It's a little hot. I run down the steps. A brother comes over. I have on a sleeveless shirt. Then I have on shorter shorts. And I have on this and I have on that. But if I know that I'm wearing a thobe every day, it cuts off the door for me to what? Be dressed un-Islamically. Not saying that wearing a thobe is mandatory upon men, as we've explained. There's no sin in wearing pants and a shirt. As long as the pants are above your ankles, as long as they're not tight on your buttocks, as long as they're not sheer and see-through, etc. It's permissible. It's not haram to wear a shirt and a pants. You don't have to wear a thobe. You don't have to wear an izar. You don't have to wear shawwal kameez. It's not mandatory. However, if that is your daily wardrobe, the chances of your shirt being exposed or your pants falling down or this and that are very what? Extremely slim. And the same applies to a sister who wears a one-piece hijab. One day it's a skirt, it's a shirt. The shirt is like this. The shirt is in the cleaners. The skirt is a little shorter. It's windy. It can get out of hand. Everybody understand this? Hopefully this makes sense. What's important is that the original organic hijab is going to be understood in light of culture, as we explained in that lecture. And there is no one culture that you have to stick to unless it's proven in the authentic sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. I hope that this makes sense, inshallah. Fadl.
And this is AA from St. Paul, Minnesota. Could you explain the Bahala and if it should be used today?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question says, can you explain al-mubahala and what does it mean and should it be used today? Basically, if you have an argument with somebody, and hopefully it's a worthy argument of some tangible benefit, and someone makes a claim or an accusation, you say, okay, no problem. Let's invoke the curse of Allah upon the one who's lying. Let's invoke the curse of Allah upon the one who's the aggressor. ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ. Allah says, and then we make the curse of Allah upon the kadhibin, upon the liars. So therefore, if you know something, and you feel very strong and confident about that thing, and a person is being very obstinate, and there's no other way except by making them bahala, then that's one thing. However, the concept of people saying, may Allah make me a Jew or a Christian if I'm lying, may Allah allow me to die upon this religion if I'm not telling the truth, I don't think that's the smartest thing to say. I don't think it's something which is necessary. I don't think the truth always needs that type of contest or competition. If you're confident in what you're saying, you have the proof and you have the evidence, and if someone is accepting it or not accepting it, alhamdulillah, don't force it upon anyone. But invoking the curse, I don't think that's a good idea to abuse it and do it unnecessarily, because you never know what is going to happen. As Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us not to swear but so much. وَحْفَظُوا أَيْمَانَكُمْ. Don't swear but so much. Wallahi, by Allah, wallahi, I swear, wallah. This is the truth, wallahi. You shouldn't do that but so much, because it can lead to you disrespecting Allah's name. Let alone the fact that if you're giving a khutbah or a class, you don't have to holler and shout at the people and keep saying that. Let your content speak for you. Let what you're quoting of Quran, of hadith, of statements of the Sahaba, of practical historical things, facts, let that speak for you instead of saying, wallahi, wallahi, this is the truth, wallahi. And many brothers, they do this, and they stick out their finger like this, and they think that that gives content to what they're saying. They think that it gives validity to the argument. No. A true, strong, knowledgeable person doesn't have to holler and raise his voice. He doesn't have to abuse and keep saying wallahi over and over again. May the curse of Allah be upon. He doesn't have to do that. Because the ilm, the knowledge, is the thing that barks and bites for him. Everybody understand this? Speaking to speakers, anyone who's listening to this, the ilm that you present, whether it's worldly knowledge or Islamic knowledge, we said both now, that's the thing that's supposed to bark and bite. Not raising your voice and shouting and screaming and hollering and abusing people and saying the curse of Allah and the curse of Allah. That's not supposed to be your barking and your biting. Everybody understand this lesson? Your barking and biting is the hardcore ilm that you got. How you speak, how you talk, the wisdom, the hikmah, the ilm that you have. And a true knowledgeable person never ever has to get bent out of shape when talking to someone. If he raises his voice, that's permissible. That's from the sunnah to do that sometime. To show passion, to show energy, to show some type of personality, that's fine. But we said hollering and shouting and screaming, and you lose control. Let the knowledge do that, Wallahu a'lam. Here we have some fawaid from Uncle Faz, may Allah bless him, regarding some of the virtues of Surah Yasin.
I don't subscribe to that though.
I didn't say you did, Sheikh. My cup is empty, inshallah. With regards to Surah Yasin being the heart of the Quran, grand reward, intercession, so on and so forth. So before we get into these hadiths, are they sahih, are they authentic, are they fabricated? As I just said, logically, what makes Surah Yasin stand out from the other Quranic surahs as far as content? We know that there are hadiths that teach us about the virtue of a surah, the superiority of a surah or an ayah, and sometimes it's a tangible reason, and other times it's pure faith. The Prophet ﷺ, he said this about this surah, and we believe in it. It's authentic though. And there are other hadiths, one could possibly say, in most cases, there's something which is tangible. Let's make an example of this. The Prophet ﷺ, he says that Surah Al-Ikhlas equals a third of the Quran. A surah so short, how can it be a third of the entire Quran? Surah Al-Ikhlas, its main theme, walaikum salam, is the Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal. Tawheed. And Tawheed is one of the three main topics of the Quran. The three themes of the Quran, or the pieces of content of the Quran: number one, Tawheed; number two, stories; number three, rulings and regulations. Listen carefully to the benefit. The first is Tawheed, Allah's oneness. The second are stories: Ad, Thamud, Fir'aun, Musa, Yusuf, Yunus. Last but not least, rulings. When you divorce women, when you buy something, when you sell something, when death comes to one of you. When you meet your enemy on the battlefield, فَلَا تُوَلُّوهُمُ الْأَدْبَارِ, don't turn your backs. That's a ruling. Inheritance, buying, selling. إِذَا نُودِي لِلصَّلَاةِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمْعَةِ فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, when the call is made on Jumu'ah. وهكذا. So logically, Surah Al-Ikhlas being 1/3 of the Quran is clearly what? It's tangible. Ayatul Kursi being the greatest verse in the Quran. What does it talk about? How many of Allah's names and attributes is mentioned in Ayatul Kursi? The dunya, the hereafter. That's all mentioned there. So it's tangible. Everybody clear on this? Surah Al-Baqarah, it being a proof against the sorcerers. Talks about sihr, talks about Musa, talks about this, talks about that. The shayateen. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا. And there's example after example after example. So this is just a hypothetical, it's a hypothesis. Surah Yasin. Forget the fact that these hadiths, they're grade. Are they even authentic? What makes Surah Yasin to be the heart of the Quran? Everybody understand this? The core kernel of the Quran. Everybody clear on this? And such a grand and tremendous reward. If it was mentioned in authentic hadith that it's the heart of the Quran, there is no hypothetical hypothesis. Khalas, we're here, we obey. It's the heart of the Quran. And even in the ulama of Islam, they would break it down. Why? The wajh, ma wajhu kada, ma wajhu kawnihi kada. Here we have these bogus ahadith, which some of them may not be that weak, but them being authentic is highly questionable. But tangibly, what makes Surah Yasin to be the Quran's heart? The core of the Quran. Everybody understand this? Surah Al-Rahman, different argument. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. That's a serious and unique style of Ar-Rahman. There are verses in which Allah Azza wa Jalla censures the son of Adam without question. لَمَّا يَقْضِي مَا أَمَرَهُ. Man didn't do what he was supposed to do. قُتِلَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا أَكْفَرَهُ مِنْ أَيِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقَهُ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ خَلَقَهُ فَقَدَّرَهُ. Allah says, cursed is man. مَا أَكْفَرَهُ. He's extremely ungrateful. قُتِلَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا أَكْفَرَهُ. Allah says, man is cursed because he's an ultimate ingrate. مِنْ أَيِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقَهُ. What did Allah make man from? مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ. From fluid, from semen. He doesn't come from no noble background. He's made from discharge. How can you contest and fight with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, And Allah, He mentions how He created man. He made man perfect. ثُمَّ السَّبِيلَ يَسَّرَ. And then He guided man to do things in this world. They fly planes, they fly jets, they have submarines. Look, all of the technology, the exploration, the foods, the medicine, the science, the sports, the arts that men do. Allah guided them to knowing that, to being able to create this and to make this and to write that. Allah, He says this. And then, ثُمَّ أَمَاتَهُ فَأَقْبَرَهُ. And then He will cause man to die, and He will allow man to live in a qabr, a grave. And the ulama of Islam, they say this is a blessing of Allah. A blessing of Allah is that when man dies, he's not left to rot. He's not left to be putrid, but he's respected and honored to a funeral. As we learn from the story of Surah Al-Ma'idah, the crows, the ghurab. The crows actually bury their dead. So the point I'm trying to get to is, the Quran is full of this. But that style of Surah Al-Rahman, in which Allah Azza wa Jalla directly addresses man and jinn over and over again. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. How every ayah ends with an alif and a noon. علم القرآن علمه البيان الميزان جنى الجنتين دان. That's unique to what? Rahman. So one can say Surah Al-Rahman has a special virtue based off of this, based off of that. What do we find in Surah Yasin that makes it the heart of the Quran, in which you keep reading and reciting it besides all other surahs? Surah Al-Kahf, another perfect example. Even though the hadith is not authentic, to read Surah Al-Kahf every Friday. It's not sahih. The Prophet ﷺ didn't say that. However, the wisdom of reading the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf, the Dajjal, the Quran. Everybody understand what I'm trying to get to? So this is another example of bid'ah taking the place of sunnah, da'if taking the place of sahih, and the people sticking to it and clutching to it. And you'll find people who read this surah, who make this dua, who travel like this, who go out their homes like that. You find them the furthest people from implementing the basic, authentic sunnah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Initials OM from Famagusta, TRNC, Cyprus. Assalamu alaikum Mufti. Is music a major or minor sin?
Question says, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, coming from the island of Cyprus. Nafis? Is music a major or minor sin? Before we get to it being a major or minor sin, it has to be established that it is a sin. It is a sin. We don't want to open up no can of worms, but if someone asks the question, is music haram? You consider music to be haram, that's fine. And if you consider it not to be haram, then that's a view of some of the ulama of Islam. So that's first and foremost. We're not getting into the details of it right now, right here. That's number one. Number two, so no one can say Mufti says music halal, huh? Number two, the ulama of Islam who say that it is haram, the overwhelming majority who took the view that listen to instruments and things like this is haram. Is it a major sin or a minor sin? It's going to depend on, one may say, the content of the music. Let's make an example of this. If someone's listening to classical jazz, he's going to say this is haram. You can't listen to a saxophone and a piano. It's haram, regardless. But is he going to say it's the same level of sin as someone who's listening to heavy metal, heavy rock, and which is devil worship, Satan worship? Groupies, women groupies offering their bodies to these rock stars as people make blood sacrifice. Of course, it's like what? Night and day. Even though he's saying that both are what? Haram. And it may be a major sin to listen to the normal type of jazzy music, but it's not the same as the content which is clearly foul and clearly un-Islamic. Alcohol, fornication, murder, all of these things are mentioned in the lyrics and the content of the music. That is a higher level of severity. Everybody clear on this? Everybody understand this or not? Tayyib? And just as a interesting fact, the people, they can say whatever they want to say. It really doesn't matter. But just as a very important fact, people, they talk about violence, and they talk about misogyny, and they talk about youth being influenced through certain types of music. And the first finger that is pointed is towards rap and hip hop. They have a t-shirt or a hoodie that says gangster rap made me do it. We have to ban NWA, ban these people, ban because it's promoting violence, gang violence. Women are being disrespected. But they'll never ever point the finger and say anything about what? Punk rock or heavy metal, in which they're doing all types of heavy drugs. The amount of fornication, zina, devil worship, beer, alcohol being consumed on the stage. Violence. And just if you look at the nature of the instruments that are used in heavy metal and what it makes you feel like when you hear it compared to rap or hip hop. This is another piece of ultimate hypocrisy in the modern world today. The urban, that stuff is bad, it's evil. But the rock, that's fine. Or other cultures and traditions. You'll find people that have different music, they'll listen to music. It's cultural, it's art, it's refined. But anything urban coming from the inner city is automatically what? It's negative. It's hypocrisy. Everybody understand this or not? And Allah knows best. That's just a fact there for us to think critically. Huh? Wallahu alam.
Salam Farid from Orboro, Sweden. What is the ruling on leasing a car for a fixed monthly price, which may or may not include a rebate?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Leasing a car and other things, there are details. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it isn't okay. What's important is, if a person doesn't lease a car, if a person doesn't have a mortgage on a house, then there are other things that we do and we eat and drink from and benefit from, which are just as impermissible. Which shows the need of having a proper understanding of the rulings of the deen in the traditional sense and in the current modern day sense. Also, the importance of the need of Muslims establishing their own businesses, Muslims establishing their own institutions, Muslims making sure that those institutions are sound. To make an example of mortgage, the people that say it's haram, to have a house and pay mortgage on it. So riba, so on and so forth. You have to rent a house or buy it all. Tayyib. The person that you rent the house from, he comes, your landlord, or she comes, she says, is it possible for you to give me 3 months of rent or 2 months rent because I'm behind in paying the mortgage? So the landlord is telling you that he or she is paying what? Mortgage. And you pay the landlord rent. So how many problems do we have with this situation? 2 now. 1, you're renting something from someone who doesn't what? Own the property. And that is Islamically rejected. Secondly, the person is directly telling you, it isn't hidden that I'm paying mortgage and your money is going directly to the what? Mortgage. Everybody understand the problem? They're telling you that they're paying the mortgage. They're telling you this. And this is a real life story. Once I was renting a house in Philadelphia from a lady. She said, can you pay me a couple months more rent? I need it, because I'm about to make the last couple payments on the mortgage. She's telling me that she's paying what? Mortgage. So it's haram for you to pay the mortgage. And is it halal for you to give it to someone else to pay? And it's not like if you don't know, that's a different story. You don't know. Maybe she owns it, maybe she don't. It's not my concern. The Islamic principle is pertaining to you doing it directly and you not doing it directly. Here you know it. She's coming to you telling you. Let alone how are things established in the world today. Like the chicken. They say you can eat the chicken from McDonald's because it's Ahlul Kitab. They're Jews and Christians. But you know how they slaughter those chickens. It isn't a hidden, mysterious thing. It is well known how animals are killed and processed. So you can't say that it's hidden anymore. We go somewhere, there's a Jewish establishment, they give us food. It's not our job to search and research. Ahlul Kitab, also. Here we know they're telling you this is how the chickens are killed. Everybody understand this or not? And anyone who takes a sharp blade and goes across the animal's neck is inhumane, is barbaric, is unhygienic. So there's a huge difference in Islam between me not knowing and me what? Knowing. There's a huge difference. I go over a brother's house, I don't know that he has haram wealth and haram income. It's not my business to ask, what do you do for a living, akhi? How do you make your money? It's not mandatory. Rather, oftentimes it isn't recommended to ask. That isn't the same as I know that his money is haram and that's his only source of income. There's a huge difference now. Everybody clear on this? So it's a very important critical issue that we have to tackle. What is haram? Clearly. And what isn't haram but the people think it is, pertaining to leasing or riba. Is it riba? Is it actually riba? And this can only be done by people who have the knowledge of the deen and the knowledge of the worldly things and who are real and transparent people to avoid being hypocritical. You can't rent to own, but you can rent to keep what? Renting. And the mortgage is still where? Sheikh Mahdi is what? Still there. Wallahu alam.
Sheikh, can you speak when you're in the bathroom?
Question says, can you speak when you're in the bathroom? Yes, you can. It's not haram to talk when you're in the bathroom. It is haram, and according to certain narrations, a major sin for a person to speak while they're relieving themselves, relieving stool, having a bowel movement. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمْقُتُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. The hadith says, because Allah hates that. As far as if a person is urinating, then he shouldn't speak as well. Speaking when you're cleaning yourself or making istinja is permissible. It is not haram. If you're not even using the restroom, you're just in the bathroom making wudu, or in the bathroom, someone's in a shower, it's nothing wrong with speaking. However, a bathroom shouldn't be a place in which you just stay in for so long. It shouldn't be a comfortable place in which you feel all right to just have a full-blown conversation. But let's say for argument's sake, your wife comes in the bathroom, you're taking a shower. She says, honey, where did you put the keys? Or where's the such and such? I'm running late for such and such. Yeah, it's on the sofa. There's nothing wrong with that. Rather, it's nothing wrong with even mentioning Allah's name in the bathroom. It's not haram. It's not haram. Let alone the fact if the restroom is in a place in a door and you're away from that making wudu. It's not haram. And Allah knows best.
This is F. Ali from London, UK. Why is it so hard to get married, but it's so easy to do zina?
Wa alaikum salam. Question says, Why is it so hard to get married but so hard to make zina? I agree. It's so easy to make zina. I agree with you, but I disagree with you. I agree with you on the premise that sinful things, lustful acts are relatively easy. The Prophet ﷺ says, حُفَّةَ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ وَحُفَّةَ النَّارُ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ. He says paradise is surrounded by difficulties and hardships. And the fire of hell is surrounded by lust. Many of the pious predecessors, they would say, don't look down upon a sin. And don't underestimate a good deed. And that's because the sin's pleasure and its joy is immediate, it's instant. But its bitterness and its punishment, its regret is something that's going to come later on. And the good deed, oftentimes, not all of the time, sometimes you feel immediately good after doing a good deed. But oftentimes the reward of the good deed is postponed. And the difficulty of the sacrifice is what? Immediate. It's a hardship to do it now. But the blessing of that good deed is going to what? Come later. Just like riba. Huh, now, Saeed? You have pending transactions. You buy. Sweet, simple. But when you get the bill, your balance is what? That's not all. It's a different story now. It's sweet to do it on the spot, but it's bitter what? Later on. So this is the concept of good deed and a bad deed. Zina, quick, simple, easy, instantly gratifying. But the punishment, the regret, the consequences, the responsibilities, they are going to what? Come to bite you later on. There's women in the Salaf, they would say this about good deeds and bad deeds. So the concept of bad deeds being easy, being in front, being open in public, I agree with that. But I don't necessarily agree with the fact that it's hard to get married, that hard. Rather, in most cases, and this is a reality, it says, none do I'll do walking in. Most cases, most brothers, they make it hard upon themselves to get married. Because they have to marry a specific woman of a specific type, of a specific age, of a specific color, of a specific height, of a specific background. Or they're afraid of their parents, or afraid of their mother, or afraid of their brother. But if you just wanted a righteous wife that was relatively attractive, she doesn't have to be a supermodel. No, she has to be someone that you can look at. Basic. You can find them. You can find them. And the same applies to brothers as well. He has to memorize Sahih Bukhari. He has to be like this. He has to be this height, this weight. He has to have muscles. He has to be cute. He has to have notice. And he has to have a ton of money and a degree. And he's going to spend all of his time in the house with me. And he's going to go to the masjid and be a scholar. It's unrealistic. Or you find a good, righteous brother, but your parents say no because he doesn't have enough money. So who do you fear more? You fear falling to zina or your parents? Or he's from a different race. So oftentimes we make it difficult upon ourselves. But if you were sincere and making dua to Allah and looking for a good, righteous spouse that was relatively okay for you, and you had a basic job, not rich, but a basic job. What man is going to marry you to his daughter? You have no money. You have no pot to make wudu in, no window to throw it out of. This is a reality. And there are many young brothers that are like this. Are you working? Walaikum salam. No, I'm not working. Are you going to school? No, I'm not going to school. Are you looking for work? No, I'm not looking for work. Are you seeking knowledge? No, I'm not seeking knowledge. What are you doing with your life? And then you say, oh, he won't marry me to his daughter. He won't give me his daughter. He's a racist because I'm from another country. No. Respect yourself if you want other people to respect you. So if you were doing the basic responsibilities that you're supposed to be doing, I don't think it would be that difficult to find a wife or a husband. But oftentimes the search for perfection, as the one wise man said, is what the man is worst disease. Worst disease. Has to be like this, has to be like that. Sufficiency is relatively easy. So that's my message to all Muslim youth. And look yourself in the mirror first and think how relative this speech is to you or to someone that you know. Am I making this up, Talib? She has to be a special exotic breed. I want her to be half this and half that. And righteous, and pious, and beautiful, and wear full hijab. And Allah knows best. Am I making this up, Abu Saeed? It's not all, Akhi. Huh?
Initial 10B from Toronto. Ayatollah Sheikh. How can a student balance between the Quran and the other studies this month?
Question says, coming from Toronto, how can a student balance with regards to Quran and other studies during this month? I only see balance when they're two different sides. But when it's one weight, one scale, there's no need for balance. The Quran is connected to tafsir. Tafsir is connected to hadith. Hadith is connected to fiqh. Fiqh is connected to the Lugha al-Arabiya. Wa hakadha. That's all one thing. You studying the Quran, memorizing it, reviewing it, reading its tafsir. What is tafsir al-Tabari full of except for narrations? Narrations are based off of the science of hadith. The main fiqh that's taken from the hadith is wa hakadha. It's all connected. It's all connected. Huh? So therefore, if you can understand it like this, then that's one thing. But if you can't, like most people, the traditional orthodox way, this is Quran, this is hadith, this is fiqh, then just focus on the Quran during this month. And inshallah ta'ala, after this month, you go back to your other studies. But if you can revolutionize your way of thinking and to understand that it's all one, then I don't think there's going to be any imbalance. Because when you read the tafsir of Qurtubi, it's helping you out in fiqh. And when you read the statement of Abbas in fiqh, it's helping you understand the reason why the verse was sent down. And we understand why the verse was sent down, it helps you with seerah. And we understand seerah helps you with history. It's all connected. This is the HadithDisciple way of thinking. That it's all what? It's all one. It goes out and what? Comes back in. Wallahu alam. Wa billahi tawfiq. Wa sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.